Hey everybody, welcome back to Doc Loyal Talks Comics, and here is my haul video for August the 5th. Let's see what we have first. First is the book of the week, the pick of the week, and it's Amazing Spider-Man issue number 34. We are now two measly issues away from ASM 1000, which I thought was kind of cool that they did the ad on the back of this book. So you have Joe Kelly, Ed McGuinness, Mark Farmer, and Marcio Menyes. And you open up with a fight between Electro and Spider-Man. It's nice to see that we get a classic Spider-Man villain. I want to see Electro, the Vulture, even Dr. Octopus. Dan Slott almost ruined that character by using him so much. He used him well, don't get me wrong, but he used him to be almost Norman Osborn-esque in his, ability to create big moments. I want to see Hobgoblin again. I want to see Green Goblin again, even if it's just momentary or if it's a hallucination or something like that. But for right now, we get Peter, who is doing everything that he can to take Aunt May's mind off of Cormac Crane. See, I didn't say McCarthy this time. But, he's trying to do everything, so he was going to make her some wheat cakes that looks like hearts. And he ended up burning them. And she says, you should have turned the video off as soon as they said to make your wheat cakes in a pot. She's like, that's not how you make wheat cakes. And so Cormac sent a bunch of flowers to her home, and he's got it on like a recurring thing. And it says, call the number when they're looking sad and we'll handle it, full service. And in the meantime, we go back to Spidey fighting Electro, and Electro does not look happy. We haven't seen Matt Dillon in a long time, or Max Dillon, I should say, not Matt Dillon. But we haven't seen Max in a long time. And he seems pretty upset that Spider-Man interfered with his plans. And you shoot back to a conversation between Agent Griffin from Damage Control and Spider-Man earlier, and you eventually get to see that Griffin takes, the initiative in order to help Spider-Man, and pretty much looks like the Michelin Man. Now, that's not what it is. It explains as you go along. And Peter says, I've tried insulated webbing against Electro before, and I continued to use it as Electro's powers grew, even though I knew it would ultimately fall short. The alternative, well, this is the alternative. A network of hyperconductive, ionically charged webbing and an irresistible target, like a laughable rubber suit that's actually a silver mesh array tethered to said webbing. So you get to see the giant Michelin Man looking like suit going up against Electro. And it just doesn't seem like it would work, but you've got to know your science enough to know that Peter has to, come up with interesting ideas in order to put his villains down sometimes. And in the end, you get to see Peter meeting up with Robbie Robertson, who we haven't seen in quite a while, and he's given Peter some information, but it seems like Peter knows all the information that there is, that he had Robbie tracking down in the first place. So it's slowly building up into something. Now, I really hate that we're going to get ASM 1000, but then I've already seen the solicitations for 1001 and 1002, which I'm happy that they're not going back to issue 1 all over again. But I don't like the idea that we're going to be fighting Ravage for now 3 issues and possibly a 4th. That's just, they should have made the story for ASM 1000 maybe triple sized and cut down to where you only needed an additional issue instead of rolling this over into 1000 and, like I said, now into 1002. So Who knows? We shall see, but Joe Kelly at least does have my interest with this storyline, and that's something I can't say that Zeb Wells had during his run. So let's keep going. We've got one more issue, and then issue 1000 comes in September. So let's see what we've got cooking from the Spider Office with that issue 1000. All right, next up is Minor Arcana, issue number 17 by Jeff Lemire, Letizia Cadenici, and Patricio Del Pech. And you get to see Teresa and Missy have gone into this hotel. But it's not a hotel, it's more of a hotel of the mind. And so they're fighting. And, you know, you get the idea that there was more than just friendship to these two, you know. And eventually you get to see that Missy is going to do whatever it takes to find her missing husband, Brad, who is physically still alive, but mentally he's gone somewhere else. So, and eventually you do get to see that they did love each other. And yet Missy decided to go ahead and pursue her college at a college further away. And Teresa, you know, she gets upset. And she says, you know, we're supposed to be in this together. And let's see, what does she say? What do you want? You know, what do you want, Teresa? There's no work way up there, and I'm going to need to focus on school. And Teresa says, oh, I see. I get it. And Missy says, what's that supposed to mean? It means you don't want me there. And not everything is about you, Teresa. This is about my education, my way out of this town. And Teresa says, well, what about me? And she says, it's not my fault that you gave zero effort in your classes, and it's not my fault you didn't even bother applying to schools. So you get this nastiness from both of them that absolutely, you know, you get to see that they broke apart. And it wasn't a nice split. It was terrible. And now, as she descends into the madness, literally, then you get to see that she's in some sort of maze or labyrinth that's beneath the hotel. And let's see. So Teresa says, she forgave me. That wasn't the end of us. Missy did go off to school and I stayed in Limberlost, but we promised that we'd make it work. And she says that they did for a while, and then eventually the calls got, you know, shorter and less often. And one day she met a cook that she was working with, Teresa did, named Andy. And they started having a little fling, and, you know, she said, you know, I figured that losing Missy was going to be inevitable. And so I came up with some sort of sick preemptive defense mechanism, and at least I tried to justify it in that way. She's going to hurt me, so I'll hurt her first. And Missy came home and saw her in the arms of another woman and just couldn't deal with it. And she ran off. And that's why Missy ended up falling in love with Brad, and how we ended up where we are at. And in the end, Teresa finds a key. What does it unlock? Where do we go from here? And where is Missy? Because Missy was nowhere to be seen in the last couple of pages of the book. You heard her call to Teresa, but she didn't ever find her again. So this is really beginning to heat up. I miss Phantom Road by Jeff Lemire, but I guess with him working on this book more so, then you get to see what he's up to in this one, and it allows him to cook more on this one instead of having his time and effort and energy split between the two books. So excited to see where Minor Arcana goes next, and I can't wait to see where that key opens. All right, next up is Mask issue number 3, and this is by Dan Waters and Pi Parr, and you get to see Miles Mayhem against Matt Tracker. But you open the issue with Miss Baker, who was attacked at the end of the last issue, And let's see. And you've got, oh, come on. It was on here somewhere. Was it on the first page? Alex Sector. So Alex Sector is talking to this woman through her mask. And he's like, look, you know, you're badly injured. You've got to get to the surface, but you can't surface because Mayhem is still up there. And he's waiting for you to surface so that he can finish what he started. And they said, but we do have somebody to intercept him. And it turns out to be Matt Tracker. So Matt takes his specialty-made car and attacks Miles Mayhem, who's in a fighter jet. So that's not really a fair fight. Even even Miles Mayhem says that. He's like, you're going to attack a fighter jet with a souped-up car, you know, with a pony car? And Tracker eventually tries to bring him down by, you know, punching the glass and trying to, he jumps out of the car and onto the top of the fighter jet. And he discovers these weird writings on Mayhem's chest that he's not familiar with. And in the end, Mayhem says, down, boy. You know, this is not for you to know anything about yet. I don't want you to discover what's going on here. And Matt ends up falling off of the airplane and crash lands into the wilderness hard. Takes a couple of bad hits on the way down. And in the end, you get to see Miles Mayhem talking to another character. And I'm not going to spoil who this is, but it's going to be another piece of the pie to the Energon universe. It's not Rom Space Knight, but think Nauts. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But this was a lot of fun. It continues to be fun. Dan Waters has got his finger directly on the pulse of what made Mask fun the first go around, and even the comic books that came after the show was gone. So it's great to see that this, along with that other property, are going to help fund, you know, and push forward the second wave of these Energon universe books. So this is going to be a fun ride, guys, and I'm going to hold on at least through issue 6 to see how this first story arc finishes up. And from there, we'll see how far and how high Mask can truly fly. All right. The next to last book is Event Horizon Inferno, issue number 4. And this was written by Christian Ward with art by Rob Carey. And now we start to really see how demonic and how evil this ship is. It went away, it was just a ship, okay? It was just a ship, a scientific spaceship. And somehow this gravity drive that controls this ship sent it to hell, literal hell. And so it came back as a demonic ship. It didn't start out that way, but it got twisted. You know, a lot of humankind, they start off with good intentions, and then all of a sudden it twists into something very, very evil. So that's exactly what happened here, and you still have this mastermind who was so intent on gaining control of the ship and finding out what its secrets entailed that he's willing to mind control people. You know, he said, hey, go ahead and smile for me. You know, this is what I want you to do. And he's got his lover / android, and she says, I'm inside the mind of the Event Horizon. And the ship itself says, who are you? And it sucks her in. And she's screaming, and she says, Daniel, my love, can you hear me? And the ship says, he can't hear you. It's just you and me now. And it says, I am more than a ship. And in the end, it says, the humans, they always call the ships her. Did you know that about them? And So the ship says, the crew thought me to be their mother, to protect them. A mother carries her boys safely through a harsh world. And he says, they thought that I was their mother until I decided I was a mother no more. And so you get to see who I believe is Dr. Weir, aka Sam Neill's character. And she says, he gave me life and agency. I am a hungry God to be worshipped and to be fed. Man built me to be one thing, but I chose to be another. And he shows that Daniel was not a good man. He says, what purpose did he build you for? Did he build you for companionship? Did he build you for pleasure, man's hubris, or his sadism? Tell me, is your agency truly your own? And in the end, the gravity drive awakens. The gravity drive in 200 plus years of the ship's existence has never, once it went to hell and came back, nobody's ever really gotten the gravity drive to really work in the way that it was supposed to. And now all of a sudden, the gravity drive pops on again. And that was due to the machinations of Dr. Weir, whose spirit still haunts the ship. So, bravo to Christian Ward. He has created an absolutely scary story that is definitely worthwhile, and it ties in with the original movie. It's the sequel, the unofficial, I believe, sequel to the movie, and it's great to see a lot of these characters, a few of them return to life, but it's also great to see exactly what's going on with the ship, the gravity drive, the fact that this ship was evil, evil incarnate. So where do we go from here? I don't know, but I think we only have 2 issues left. So hopefully we can see where the ship is headed in the next issue. Okay, and the last book is Conan and Dragon Arrow, and I didn't leave this for last because it was the worst book of the week. I left it because it was one of the best books of the week. You have this dragon who was injured, but he's still able to fly, although slowly. He's healed, but not 100%. So Dragon Arrow and Conan realize they have to bring him down. So Conan jumps on his back, and he says, I know you understand me, dragon. My name is Conan, a Cimmerian. I will have your blood for my comrades that you slaughtered, and for bringing ruin upon my world. Those gems that you stole, I will return them to where they belong. So this dragon has got some gemstones that he was going to use to kind of, almost like the Infinity Stones, to morph the world, into what he saw fit. And the dragon says, your threats are dust in the wind and nothing more. And so he ends up tossing Conan off. And eventually Dragon Arrow sees the dragon fly by, and he sees, let's see, at the bottom here, he sees where the stones are kept in his scales underneath his chin, right above his throat. And you get to see that, he says, so there they are, the hidden gems. I can feel the power that they grant you flowing straight to your heart. And by the way, this book was written by Stefano Vietti and Luca Enoch, and art and colors are by Lorenzo Nudi. So, in the end, Conan gets a second shot, and he jumps on top of the dragon, and he spears him right in the eye. And he says, come on, Dragon Arrow, now's your chance. Now's your chance. Let your blade sing. And so he cuts him from stem to stern, as they say. And Conan is about to give him the killing blow. And Dragon Arrow says, no, stop. There's a code for us dragon slayers when we find ourselves facing one of their kind. It is performed of 6 precepts. And it says the last one commands that the Validarto who triumph in battle to show mercy to the defeated. But he's about to kill the dragon after all, though, because he says your thirst for power and your savagery are beyond healing. There is no hope left. The 6th precept must be broken. So he goes to stab the dragon, and about that time, They say, what? That glow, it's the gems. And you get to see a crazy wind picking up. And Dragon Arrow says, this is no wind, it's magical energy. And Conan says, the same power that brought us here is dragging us away. So, you know, you get flash pointed off to somewhere else just as you're about to give the killing blow. And the dragon's coming with you. So I wonder what's going to happen in the next issue. I don't know, but I'm excited to find out. So that's that, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching this channel. Thank you for watching these haul videos. It's great for me to share my wealth of knowledge from reading comics for all these years, but also it's great to see what you guys picked up, what's in your haul, and what you're loving reading and what you're dropping. So I appreciate each and every one of you. We're up to 304 subscribers now. So if you like this content, hit that like, hit that subscribe, comment down there below where you're from. I want to know where all of my fans are from. Are you from the US? Are you from Sweden? Are you from Russia? I want to know who's watching these videos and where you're from and where you're picking your comics up from. So again, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great, great Wednesday. I hope that you all pick up all the books that you want, and I'll catch you guys next time.